you a small scenario. So if this is one application, consider ours is like HDFC application. So within this application, I wanted to search for something like an operator ID, 1, 2, 3, 4. On clicking on this hit button, I wanted to get operator information, right? So, this is the table that is PR operators, hitting this table and getting back. For that, you can go for an activity and within which you'll go with obj open or maybe open by handle according to that. Okay, so scenario number one is to interacting our application with our own database, internal database. Scenario two here is maybe the same HDFC application if they're trying to issue something like credit card for a customer. So if you are the customer coming to my bank, so I'll directly will not give you the credit card kit, right? Instead, we'll search for your eligibility. So for that, we have to enter your PAN card number, right? So based on your PAN card number and based on your score, we'll decide whether you're completely eligible or not, or partially eligible, or maybe rejected. So what is happening? This CIBIL score related stuff will not be maintained at our own database. We are supposed to reach to third party application and they will be trying to process the complete information. And from their database, we'll get back the things, right? Scenario one is to get the data with our internal table. Scenario two is to interact with third party application. And scenario three here is sometimes third party applications they will be giving their database access directly for us. Okay, so you can hit their DB instead of you sending it for their application and they processing it. Directly will be given their DB access and we can process that. So three scenarios. Scenario one is for internal table. Scenario two is like external application. Scenario three is like external database. Now our concentration is completely on this one, scenario number two. So that is interacting with third-party applications. So what we call it as web services or integrations or API calls, these things. Okay, very, very important point. So today you'll join some company and there, whatever the PEGA application you are using. So it might be at requester level or it might be at providers level, right? So maybe if this is like structure where SBI is our initial application and this is something like RBI and this is their database. Okay, now SBI has to request something for an PAN card number and we'll try to send it to them. And what they have to do, they have to hit their DB and they're supposed to send back. This is what generally happens. So in this whole scenario, RBI database is not exposed to SBI. So database exposing is not happening. So they wanted to protect their DB. That is the thing. This kind of integration with third-party application is happening today. Fine. So here I'll try to search with 1, 2, 3, 4. And here same 1, 2, 3, 4 has to be reached here, right? So in that scenario, I'll not hard code as 1, 2, 3 in between. Maybe I'll not hard code as 4, 5, 6 in between. So what are the value I entered? So in our clipboard, somewhere it has to be maintained. It might be maintained somewhere at py workpage dot pan card number. And the same reference has to be sent for them. Meaning the input what they are supposed to get is py workpage dot pan card number. Okay. And if this RB application is developed completely on .NET. Okay. So if we wanted to integrate between two applications, backend technologies need not be same, right? So this we are developing it on PEGA. This might be developing on .NET. And if this is their design, whatever the input I send it as pure page.pan card, will they be understanding? Come on. So will they be understanding our own clipboard structure? No, right?
No.
No. So maybe if they are also using PEGA, now tell me whatever the input I send, will they understand?
Yes.
Yes. Can they process it?
Yes.
No. Why? Because this is developed on PEGA. This is also developed on PEGA in clipboard. So this PY workpage will be referencing to SBA dash, right? And here P workpage will be referencing to RBA dash. So this input and this page both are actually different. So even if you're sending some input, they will not understand, even if it is like backend technologies are same. Getting my point? So between two applications, between two applications, backend technologies, sometimes it might be same, mostly it might be different. So irrespective of backend technologies, processing should happen. Processing should happen. Okay, maybe if both applications should be of same technology and no one today can use latest technologies. Why? Because this RPI might be started somewhere around 1970, consider. By that time, whatever the latest might be, they'll be developing on that, right? Consider it is still running on .NET. So this SBI wanted to integrate with third party. So if backend technology should be same, no doubt they're supposed to be. They're forced to design everything on .NET only. No? Every bank in India today, no doubt has to be integrating with RBI. So if backend technologies everywhere must be same, so latest technologies where there are no, right? So irrespective of backend technologies, integrations should be possible. How far it will be possible? Maybe if I'm sending something, no doubt I'll send it in my clipboard related structure only, that is P or page dot, what they might not understand. And after they're processing from their end, consider after they're processing from their end, so they'll be sending back some structure, right, which might be in .NET language, what we will not understand. Okay, what we will not understand. So here, irrespective of background technologies, processing should happen. That will be happening in some common transmission languages. What do you mean by common transmission languages? So I'll tell you with one small example. So consider Amazon application today. You are like a developer working in Amazon project. So this Amazon project completely developed on Java. Okay. And you take something like Flipkart. Flipkart application might be completely developed on Python and something completely developed on PEGA, whatever it is. So different applications might be having different background technologies, right? So this Amazon will be having some front-end scripts. Am I correct? So this will be having some front-end scripts. So generally front-end will be understandable or has to be developed based on HTML and CSS, some kind of scripting, right? Maybe jQuery or Java, maybe Angular or React, whatever it is. And this project might be developed completely on Python, but still they will be having some front end, right? Okay. And this also should be having some front end, right? Okay. So you take any technology in the world, no doubt they must be having something like front end connect understandable for that. And no doubt they will be having some database tables. Here also some database tables. Here also some database tables. Database every time understands SQL queries only. So database will not understand Java. It will not understand Python. It will not understand even PEGA, whatever it might be. So you take every technology in the world. Okay, so those should be understanding some common languages. So few such common languages are like HTML or maybe XML, HTML or XML, sometimes JSON. Okay, sometimes text, sometimes CSV, likewise. So these will be some kind of common things where every technology in the world, maybe from past 100 years, maybe after future 100 years, so this will not be changed. So we technically call it as universal languages. So now coming back here between two applications, no doubt I have to send the data and receive it. So transmission should every time happen in that universal mode only. Getting my point? Universal mode only. So here this application is like an upper hand, right? So these are considered as service providers. Okay, are also called upstream applications. And these applications are requesting something. These are called requester applications, also called downstream applications. Getting my point? Downstream applications. So here, service provider, they will decide that will accept the data in HTML format only, or in XML format only, or JSON format only. As I told you, there will be some common languages, right? Here, service provider will decide what should be that common language. Okay, so if I'm deciding XML as the common language, no doubt requesters also should convert the PEGA data into that XML format, and that XML format will be understandable by this one, and this XML related thing will be converted into their .NET structure. And once like maintained onto their understandable design, they can happily execute SQL queries, and the information also will be maintained in the .NET language only. So this again should be sent back in that common mode that is to be converted into XML. The same XML data will reach here, and this XML data should be again converted back to their PEGA related structure. So every technology will understand this. This is only for data transmission. So in interviews, they might ask you, are you having experience working with integrations? If you say yes, so what is your application? Is it like requester or downstream? Or is it like provider or upstream? So if you say it like downstream or upstream according to that, so what is the data transmission language we used? So you'll sometimes say it as XML, you'll sometimes say it as JSON, whatever it is. That completely or that purely decides based on service providers' initial design. Okay, if service provider wanted their design to be or everything to be transmitted in XML according to that, every other structure has to be there. If they want this to be completely transmitted in terms of JSON, everything has to be done. So here from PEGA, you have to convert to JSON, and same JSON data will be reached here. This JSON data will be converted back to .NET, and .NET data, whatever you are actually processing, has to be again converted to JSON, and the JSON data will be sent here. This will be converted back to PEGA. This is what the general cycle is. So finally, whatever your data transmission might be. So this is our, so here PEGA is our native language, right? Maybe here .NET is our native language. In between, we are converting. So converting of data from our native language into some third party, it might be XML or JSON, whatever it is. This process is called streaming. Getting my point? This process is called streaming. And this data will be sent here. What they are doing, whatever the data we are sending it, they are trying to convert the data from this third party language to their native language. So this process is called parsing. Okay. Converting of data from our native language to something third party, maybe XML in this case or JSON, whatever it is. This process is called streaming. Okay. And if it is like XML, we call it as XML stream. If it is like JSON, we call it as JSON stream, which will be internally handled. So we'll talk about that. And converting of data from third-party language to their native language. So this process is called parsing. Getting my point? This process is called parsing. So here coming back, this is our database. And this is our requester application. This is our provider's application. So initially we have to go for something like streaming in this case. Am I correct? Initially we have to go for streaming. The data will be sent here. So what they have to do? The third party data, they have to convert it, right? What is this process called? What is this called? Parsing. Parsing. So parsing at the third party data has to be converted into their native. Consider ఇది కూడా PEGA అనుకోండి. Into our clipboard structure. Fine. So after we getting the data, we'll try to maybe for further processing, we have to go for activity, right? So maybe activity might be having obj open or obj browse, whatever it might be. So data will get it somewhere. And this particular data, again, I have to send, right? So converting of data from our native language to third party, what is it called?
Stream.
Streaming. Here we have to go for streaming. And same data, if we are sending it back, they have to reconvert it, right? What is this process called? Parsing. So request application, no doubt they'll be having stream and parse rules, and providers also should be having stream and parse rules. So now if we are like provider, so for a complete web service to be closed, so requester, they have to request for something, they have to get some output, right? This is like complete closure. This is like complete cycle. So for a complete cycle to be handled, so we require only one single parcel. Am I correct? Yes or no?
Yes.
We require only one parcel. So it doesn't mean that we require only one single stream also. There can be multiple streams. What do you mean by multiple streams? And before this, let me explain one more statement. Okay, so here parsing. So parsing, what is it doing? Parse will be there, right? What is it doing? Whatever the input we are getting, it is to be converted into our PEGA language, right? Consider we are like in working here. So ours is like completely developed on PEGA. So the XML input, whatever you are getting, or JSON input, whatever you are getting, so the data has to be converted and somewhere stored into our clipboard. And once we got the data onto clipboard, no doubt we have to run activity, right? Suppose this is the activity what I already created. In activity, I'm trying to go for obj open. So requirement might be to pull one single record where so and so class, so and so page name, so and so class is what I have to define. And I have to pass one primary key, right? So I'll give it as primary dot, so and so page one dot, maybe page two dot, PAN card number. This is what my activity is already designed, consider. Okay, fine. So in that scenario, maybe if this is like clipboard, so what is the primary page for any type of invocation? I already
My
told you.
service page.
It is my service page, meaning whenever you get a request. So our PRPC should create something called my service page. So from where this my service page will be created, what are the associated routes? So maybe can we update these pages or, and what will be the referencing classes in the bracket? Everything will come. So I'm just giving you brief heads up. So there will be my service page, within which page one, maybe within which page two, and somewhere here PAN card number should be there. So once you get a request, I expect PAN card number to be maintained at this point of clipboard. Then only my activity will work, right? Okay, all these are like designed. Then only my activity will work. So here this parse rule should be in a position to understand our clipboard structure, right? Okay, so meaning this clipboard structure and this parse input should be exactly same. So here, if I'm trying to maintain between three pages, no doubt internally it will be having like three pages maintained. Same thing will be converted and maintained here. So this data, this we call it as clipboard structure. We technically call this as node structure. Okay, we technically call it as node structure. Node structure of this parse rule should be exactly equal to our clipboard structure. So here, if this parse rule should be having one standard structure, no doubt whatever they are trying to stream and send, it also, so this also must be the same structure, right? So here node structure and this node structure should be same. The data, whatever they are sending, will get it. And whatever we get it, will convert it. So meaning they have to send it as per our clipboard structure. If they are supposed to convert and send it as per our structure, no doubt they have to maintain the same clipboard structure only, no? Then only it will be possible. So finally, requester related input and providers related clipboard structure will be more or less same. So how I'm supposed to accept the input? In the same way, my parse rule will be. So my parse rule will be exactly same as per your input, that is your XML, a stream related. So how your stream rule will be as per your clipboard structure only, meaning my clipboard structure and your clipboard structure should be exactly same. Okay, so how requesters will be knowing the provider's clipboard structure. So maybe if I'm trying to get the data from my database table, I might be sending you maybe one input back or one response back, or I might be sending you four property values, or I might be sending you a page or a page list, whatever it might be. So here, whatever the data I'm sending it to, my clipboard structure should be exactly linked with this node structure, right? And this will be aligned with your node structure in this parse rule. And same thing must be mapped to your clipboard. So meaning between requester and provider, clipboard structures should be 100% same. Okay, so maybe if this is like RP application, which is developed on 1970. So I'm having this like completely designed from my end. So maybe 2025, one bank, they're coming to us and they're asking us in the help of integration. So no doubt our clipboard structure is what they have to know. Okay, so what details I have to share with them? So how will they understand about like our model request? How will they understand our model response? All these things we have to clearly understand. Okay, fine. So now again coming back, if I'm like a provider, there will be one parse rule maintaining only PAN card number as the request inbuilt, and maybe one stream rule where I can be having n number of data, meaning so PAN card related candidate name. So maybe his past loans history. I want to send one pay list back, and I wanted to send his parent details back, everything. So if I'm supposed to send back all this content, so there will be one stream rule in this case holding properties, maybe page information, maybe page list information, page group information, whatever it might. Fine. And this application doesn't have, or it should not be having only one single stream rule also. There can be multiple, right? What can be the scenarios of such multiple? Maybe if I'm trying to search for one PAN card number like 123, so it will reach here, will try to process and send back. So he'll be getting all the respect information. So consider this PAN card number is like expired today. This candidate is like expired. In that scenario, data will be there in our database table, no doubt. And sending back that information at this point of time is not correct. So we have to send back something like customer is inactive, customer is like expired. So this is what I have to send back. So scenario number one is to send back happy response. Scenario two is to send like different message. Scenario three, maybe the PAN card number is completely invalid, wrong type of data. Then I wanted to send like customer is invalid, and maybe requesters sometimes they will be using very old browsers, maybe IE8. Okay, and if they're trying to search for something, whatever the response I'm sending it back, maybe XML data or JSON data, that browser might not be supported. So instead, I have to send back a message saying like, please use Google Chrome greater than this version. Please use Firefox greater than this version. This is the message what I have to send. Instead of I'm sending the actual response, I have to send this as the response. So for one single request, there can be multiple responses possible. So if there can be multiple responses possible, no doubt multiple stream rules must be there. And if we are maintaining multiple stream rules, there can be multiple parse rules also possible. So finally, from requester level, there will be only one stream and might be like multiple parse rules. From providers level, only one parse rule and multiple streams can be possible. So ultimately, if a request or if an invocation is started, no doubt one response should be closed. Okay, it must be closed. Provider has to send back some response. It might be good response or bad response, whatever it is. So this is all about like web service, a single cycle. So clear, right? So for everyone. So for everyone clear?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Fine. So now provider here, they will decide. They will decide that I want this data in XML format only, or they will decide I want this in JSON format only. So in that scenario, maybe if it is XML, we call it as XML string. We call here as XML parse. Here XML parse, maybe here XML streams and multiple XML streams. So maybe provider for kind of extra security related things, they wanted everything to be designed in JSON. In that scenario, here we'll go for JSON parsing, JSON streaming. Here again, JSON streaming, JSON parsing. So completely provider has to decide. Okay, now if we are like an developer joined at this requester related application. So simply my manager is asking me to design a screen to include something PAN card number. On hit of this, we have to get back some information. This is what my manager is simply giving me as the task. Now on click of this button, what should happen? So I'll be getting n number of doubts, right? On click of this, so I have to hit this application. Maybe this data, how I have to convert? Is it in XML mode or maybe like JSON mode? Maybe is it enough to send only PAN card number, or should I have to send PAN card number and date of birth also? How are they accepting my input? Okay, maybe if they're accepting it. So how are they sending back? Is it like they're sending in page list format or page format? So you'll be getting n number of doubts, right? So for all these things, you need not check with this provider one-to-one. Individually cannot be. So provider here, they'll be giving us no doubt some input. What is that input about? And within that input, whether our clipboard structure will be maintained or not. So these things we have to understand. Okay, these things we'll talk about. Fine. So now let me talk something particular from provider's perspective. Okay, let me talk completely about provider's perspective. So now if we are like a service provider, okay, we are like a service provider. Okay, our requirement here is to accept a PAN card number and send back some information. That's it. So in that scenario, if you wanted to go with XML, so XML parse rule is what we have to maintain here. Am I correct? This XML parse rule, what it has to do? So whenever we get an input, automatically this XML parse will be triggered, and its duty is to convert the data into our clipboard related structure. Okay, so in clipboard, maybe there can be like my service page maintained. Consider this as our clipboard. So within which request page can be something like request page. Within request page, PAN card number can be the property, which is like 1, 2, 3, 4, what they are sending. So this is my input. Okay, XML parse also should be the same structure. Its node structure or clipboard structure should be same. So once we got the data onto our clipboard, so after parsing only data will get it, right? So after this, no doubt you have to run one activity. No other option for you. You have to run an activity. So activity now it is to hit our own table or third party table, whatever the scenario might be. So ultimately activity execution should happen. So after activity execution, no doubt you'll get back some response, right? So maybe under my service page only, there can be something called response page. So within which I can see maybe a page list. So within which there can be n number of pages. So all these things I wanted to send back. Okay. And if I wanted to send back this information, no doubt there must be XML stream rule, right? So this is what our complete chain will be. Okay. From providers level. Okay. Now let us understand what are all the rules to be created. So no doubt we are first supposed to maintain one database table, right? Okay, so we are trying to interact with our database and sending back. This is what our scenario is. No doubt we are trying to maintain one database table. So next, tell me what are all the other rules required? Choose your pending. So you require XML parse rule. Am I correct?
XML stream rule.
You require XML stream rule. Okay. Next,
My service page.
rules. Adoka page kada. I'm just talking about rules.
Activity.
Activity. Next. Next. Okay. So if I'm supposed to make you understand in terms of sequential. Okay, so what happens until the very first, whenever we are getting input, the very first thing is like XML parse running. Am I correct? Yes or no?
Yes.
What is the first thing getting executed? XML parse. So XML parse rule, after executing, what it has to do? It has to store the content somewhere on clipboard, right? So meaning request properties is what you have to create. Okay,
Mhm.
request properties, it might be single property or two, it's completely up to you. Request properties is what you'll create. So after request properties are mapped, next thing it has to run an activity. And then after
Yes.
activity execution is done, okay, so data has to be mapped for what?
Response properties.
Response properties. So after you getting response properties, I have to send back the information. So what rule will be executed now?
Stream rule. XML stream
XML
rule.
stream rules. So this will be sequential manner. So no other deviations here. So only these, what are the 5 rules you are seeing, it has to be executed in the same sequence. Now, when an invocation is triggered, this is the first one to be executed. how system will know that this should be the first. Okay, no doubt this will be the ultimate sequence. Now again, system should be having this at first position, this at second position, this might be at third position, right? So all these 5 rules will be sequentially monitored by a master rule called into the thing. What is this? Services. So, okay, what are all the 5 rules you are seeing now? So these all will be in a sequentially monitored and executed by a master rule called service. So service so is one automated rule. So where it will not be executed anywhere manually. So whenever an invocation is requested, this will be automatically done. Where first thing it will execute XML parse, then it will get the content mapped to our request properties. Then it will make an activity to be executed. It will make response properties mapped for that, and it will be executing one string rule. So this will be the sequence. Fine. Now this service, so if it is executed, everything will be done. And again, executing this service soap also should be having in terms of authentication, right? Suppose here on this application level, there will be different type of requesters, as I earlier told you. So as a human, if I log in now, as a human, maybe as a developer, I log in. So system has to check for my access group, right, initially. So whether I'm like completely authorized to access this or not. So maybe at 9 o'clock, morning 9 o'clock, I logged into this application. I can access every other rule, right? Maybe at 10 o'clock, my manager has removed me access from backend. So tell me, can I still continue in the application as I already logged in?
No.
No, right? So here PRPC, for everything to be executed, it is checking for authorization, not just at 9 o'clock. So maybe at 10 o'clock, if I'm trying to open any section, it is still checking whether I'm really authorized or not, whether this requester is authorized to access or not. Okay, so as a human, if system is checking for this level, so now if a third party applications request is what you are getting, so no doubt there will be such level of authorization, right? Simply running a service so is not accepted. So kind of authorization. Okay, authorization related things has to be there. So meaning this service soap has to be monitored by another master rule. So that is into the thing.
Service package.
Service package. So service package is the master rule starting now. Okay, whenever you get a request, first service package will be executed. Then service soap. Then all these 5 rules connected. Now let's understand what is the importance of service package. So service package, it's very clear. It will be checking for service so access group, right? Authorization and they and even it will take care of 3 other things or 2 other things. So it will be deciding something about like processing mode also. Processing mode. Service package should decide service soap's processing mode. So what do you mean by processing mode? Processing mode meaning whether sessions to be maintained or not. So I'll tell you with one small example. Suppose if this is my Google Chrome browser. So where I can see generally one tab, right? So consider the same thing. I can see one tab here. And in this particular tab, I'm searching for gmail.com. So if I'm trying to hit gmail.com, now tell me what I'll get. So I'll get like username and password to be entered, right? And I'll give my username and password and click on submit button. What is the next screen I'll get? Inbox in. And then generally you get it as inbox. Now in the same browser, I'm trying to open one more tab. One more tab. So in tab number 1, I see completely inbox now. Now, if I open tab number 2 and again, if I click on gmail.com. So now tell me, will I get again username and password asking for or directly will I get inbox?
Directly will get inbox.
Inbox. So here, Gmail is the service provider. I'm a human, I'm the requester. I'm trying to request for gmail.com. So what is it doing? It is trying to process my request. So it is just checking whether there is any session active or not. So if not, processing mode is something like creating one session ID and getting back the response. Next time, if I'm trying to request for something, so now system is identifying that there is already a session running out. It's not again processing the same earlier way. So it is trying to process something different. So consider one more scenario. So where in tab number 1, I'm trying to search google.com. So generally what I'll get some Google search page, right? And in that Google page, I'm searching for Amazon. I can see n number of Amazon results. And I'm trying to open one more tab. So if I'm trying to search for Google again, so will I be getting empty Google page or earlier searched content? Amazon results
Empty
was
one.
there empty. So what are you understanding? Here tab 1 low, we understood maybe login page and then inbox. Tab 2 low, directly inbox. You are not again getting this login page. Here tab 1 low, something like search page and then Amazon results. Tab 2 low, again search page, again Amazon results. Maybe tab 3 low, again search, again search. So here, whenever I'm trying to request for google.com, so the provider is not searching, not checking for whether any such session is currently running or not. Okay. So this type of processing is not having sessions, right? Yes or no? So the initial request is not having any session. So the next one will be considered as a fresh request, and the next one will be considered as a fresh request. Now, initial request will be having some session ID, and the next request, what is it doing? It is checking that there is already a session running out and it is processing. So this is running completely based on session ID generation. So here, no session ID generation. We technically call this as stateless processing. And then stateful processing. Okay, now our service so whatever being executed. So it does this to be executing any session ID creation or not. That will be decided based on the service package. So processing mode of this service so will be decided. Getting my point? And even service package will be having one more thing also generated. One more thing. Okay, fine. So what is that one more thing we have to?
సార్
Now,
ఇది స్టేట్ఫుల్ స్టేట్లెస్ ఆపోజిట్ లా అనిపిస్తుంది.
స్టేట్‌లెస్ అంటే సెషన్ ఉండదు.
అవును ఇక్కడ మన సెషన్
If session ID is created, that is stateful. If no session ID is stateless, correct. Okay, stateless, stateful. Now, what about the third thing? Before this, let me tell you one more small scenario. So I'm already having everything designed with SOAP structure, right? Now we are like providers, everything we are done. So ఇప్పుడు requesters, they are supposed to consume our data. So they should be in a position to send one request with us and we'll send back some response. They should be in a position to consume. So for that, first they should understand what type of input they have to send. Is it like they're sending only one single property, or is it like they have to send a page or pages? They have to decide. Sorry, they have to design. And I'll be getting some response, right? I'll be sending some response. And requesters, they should be in a position to know first how our response will be. So meaning our model request, model response, meaning our clipboard input structure, our clipboard output structure, they should know. So I have to give them something called model request. I have to give something called model response. And I have to even give something called method name. What do you mean by method name? Method name ante here whatever the service soap name we are maintaining, so that we have to send back. So what is the purpose of this method name ante? Let me tell you with one small example. Maybe today, if you are going on a bike or car, okay, so traffic police, he might stop you. Earlier days, traffic police, he might ask you to produce license, maybe like pollution details, insurance copy, everything, right? So they used to ask for physical documents. But these days, nothing physical. What they're trying to do? So they're trying to enter your vehicle number. So they will be using maybe a mobile phone or an iPad. So if this is such screen, so we'll be just entering your vehicle number, maybe TS so and so. After clicking on search button, what is happening? So we'll be getting completely about your insurance details. We'll be getting your owner details, who is the complete owner for this vehicle. We'll be getting your pollution, okay, pollution related details. So something kind of pending challan details. So this information is what we're getting. And by the way, this application is like government RTO application, government road transport application. Okay. And information, whatever we are getting is not from their RTO related, right? It is from different company. And this particular vehicle can be having insurance maybe from ICICI or maybe from something like HDFC Life HDFC Insurance, whatever. So there will be one separate data maintained for insurance and you're getting it back. One separate, uh, okay, so if this is our clipboard, okay, and there will be something holding insurance. There will be somewhere maintaining all your pollution related data and something like challan related data, something like owner related data. What is happening? So if I'm trying to search here, data will be sent to this one, data will be sent to this one, maybe data will be sent here, and even data will be sent to this one. And whatever the response you are getting it here, you will be maintaining somewhere on clip, and response you'll be maintaining somewhere on clipboard. So somewhere on clipboard, somewhere on clipboard. So here what is happening is we are trying to send one input based on which. So service soap here, maybe service soap here, maybe service soap here, service soap here will be executed. Am I correct? So no doubt you are getting data from 4 different applications. Between one application, maybe to the second one, there must be kind of web service to be constructed that happens because of service so maintained at provider level. And the same input is sent for the second application. Again, one more service related. And same for third, same for fourth. So they'll be sending back some information. And I should be in a position to consume it, and we should be in a position to consume the second one, likewise third, fourth. So they are supposed to send something like method name. Okay, so their service soap name. So if you are getting service soap name in terms of multiple requests at same time, it will be easy for us to grab it. Okay, so every time provider has to send model request, model response, and their method name. And along with which actual data also they have to send every time, right? Okay, so they have to send actual data every time. So actual data will be maintained. This is what we're talking about, actual data, right? XML stream rule. So this XML stream rule, streaming content, whatever they are having it, they will be maintaining in something called endpoint URL. So this endpoint URL will be having like actual stream rule. Okay, endpoint URL. So finally, we are supposed to share these 4 things to the requesters. So initially from design perspective, this will be used, this will be used, this will be used. From every next time onwards, actual data is enough for them that will be maintained at endpoint URL. But these 4 things we have to share with them initially. Getting my point? And all these four things, we need not send it individually. Instead, we'll be maintaining this in one final URL called WSDL. We'll be maintaining in one more point or one more URL related. So we technically call this as WSDL. Web Service Descriptive Language is what we call. So this is in one URL format. If we hit this URL, you can see complete information where model request, model response, and endpoint URL, all these things will be there. So instead of we sending all these things individually, if I can send this URL, what we call it as WSDL, requesters, they can understand everything. So additionally, we'll not talk anything more. So we need not give anything separately, just give that WSDL. Okay, so this WSDL will be generated by a service package. Getting my point? So whenever a service SOAP is connected to a service package, so access group will be like taken care. Processing mode will be taken care. This endpoint URL is what we have to share, and that is their headed to process further. So this is what we're trying to understand. And in this whole discussion, we understood about like SOAP, right? We understood something about like SOAP as the example. And here, if we are like in service providers, so for this complete automation to be done, so we are taking like, so some projects you'll see like REST as the design. So for this whole web service to be automatically done, there will be different protocols or architectures. So there will be like SOAP related automation, maybe REST related, maybe Cobra related, MQ related. So likewise, n number of things. Okay, out of all these things, consider 100 projects. 75 projects are today running on REST. Maybe 24 percentage are running on SOAP. Maybe 1 percentage is like other. Okay, so these two are like most widely used. Now we just spoke about example. Okay, so related to SOAP, I just wanted to make you understand the complete cycle first. So then you can easily correlate how it will be with SOAP, how it will be with the rest and other things. Okay, now my client wanted this complete thing to be automated with something like different REST. Okay, in that scenario, here generally you'll see it as JSON. Generally you'll see it as JSON. Okay, so you'll see like JSON parsing, and you'll see like JSON streaming, and here service REST. Everything will be same. Rest everything will be same. So web service entail so some kind of automation from the providers where our database is not actually exposed to them. The input will be completely processed. This can be automated using REST structure, maybe like SOAP structure. So REST structure has got some extra advantages compared to SOAP. So where it can handle different type of data transmissions. It can handle JSON or XML, whatever it is. So if it is REST, 99% you'll go for JSON parsing only in between. And maybe if it is like SOAP, SOAP supports only XML. It supports only XML. Okay. So if requesters are told like providers are using XML, 99% it must be like SOAP only. Okay, now 99% it is like SOAP only. So in that scenario, service SOAP might be the master rule, and no doubt this service package will be connected with that service SOAP, and it will be having these things. And it will be having some WSDL also generated. WSDL word is applicable only for SOAP. Okay, if you can see something like WSDL as like what you are getting. So everything must be on SOAP only. You can blindly understand that. Okay, and if they're trying to go for XML as the processing, so data must be on SOAP only mostly. Okay, fine. So if it is like REST structure, everything will be same as I told you. So here it will be like service REST, and this service REST also should be monitored in terms of access group and other things, right? So it must be connected to one service package. So a service package can be connected for n number of services, not just single, not just a single. So it can be connected for one service REST, maybe one service. So, okay. And whatever the access group and processing mode defined at package level, all the services will be having same settings applicable. So if a service SOAP is connected here, one URL will be generated, what we call it as WSDL. In WSDL, 4 things will be there, as I told you. If a service REST is connected to service package, only endpoint URL will be generated. Okay, only endpoint URL, only this alone will be there. So no other things will be maintained. So if we can share this endpoint URL, they should be in a position to do the remaining things. Okay, so without they knowing model request, model response, how they will do this, I'll talk later. So for now, we are just understanding about like complete web cycle. Okay, complete cycle. So this we call it as web service developed on maybe REST also. We call it as like an integration. Okay, kind of API related of these things. Clear every one of you? Any questions?
సర్వీస్ సోప్ అయితే విజిటల్, సర్వీస్ రెస్ట్ అయితే ఎండ్ పాయింట్ యూఆర్ఎల్.
Finally, whatever it is like URL laga ఉంటుంది. So if it is like if it is like Visual as the terminology used, Visual అంటే only so, okay na? And in that URL you see 4 other informations including endpoint URL, okay na? And if they are giving us only one endpoint URL, that must be with REST. So Visual in a word, it is not applicable for REST. Otherwise,
ఎస్.
okay, fine. So now coming back to the requesters level. Okay, so this is like providers, right? So now tell me providers related, what are all the rules to be created? Well, first in చెప్పండి.
ఎక్సెల్.
Consider if we are like a provider here.
సర్వీస్ ప్యాకేజ్.
Okay, so if we are like in service providers, so tell me what are all the rules to be maintained? So
సర్వీస్
first and foremost, what happens ante one service package will be executed. అంతే కదా? Service package. So service package will be having some service rule internally. It can be SOAP or REST. So consider this is our RB application. So with Access Bank, we are trying to integrate. So for that, they are just sending one PAN card number and we are supposed to send back only one page information. So for that, there will be some set of stream rules and parse rules. And this I wanted to go with SOAP. Okay, and something like HDFC. And they wanted to send one page list as the input, different kind of input, different kind of processing. So there I wanted to design everything with REST, right? That can be possible. So ఇక్కడ నుంచి input వచ్చినప్పుడు, so some kind of clipboard page will be maintained, input will be parsed, activity will be executed, and it will be sent back. So this is like complete automated cycle for that. And if this is like input, complete automated cycle. So meaning from provider level, there can be different services also. Am I correct? అవునా కదా? There can be different services. So it can be combination of SOAP or REST or Cobra or MQ or file or email, whatever. There can be different services. So all these services are automatically executing. అవునా కదా? There is no manual intervention here, automatically to be executed. So when this will be executed, and whenever we are getting an input from this access only, when this will be executed, and whenever we are getting an input from HDFC only. So this when it has to be executed, this when it has to be executed will be decided by a service package. So service package will be having access group and processing mode defined. So if I feel like access group and processing mode is same for all these things, so package can have one service. So package can have one service REST. Okay, n number of services can be connected for one package. Maybe the other one here processing mode is different. Then I have to create different service package, no doubt in it. So this can have one service REST. Okay, and this can have different all these things. Now, what will happen until, so maybe this is like SBA. SBA needs to it has to hit this one on constraint. So now whenever we get an request from access, so from providers level, we have to check for all the service packages, whatever possible. And here requesters, they have to send some data, right? So maybe in XML format or JSON format, whatever it is, they will be interacting with endpoint URL. అర్థమైందా? So whatever the response I'm sending it back, it will be like endpoint URL. Inside it will be in JSON string content. And whatever the input you are getting, this also will be in terms of endpoint URL only, the same endpoint URL. So the same endpoint URL, what they are sending, it will be in maybe XML or JSON related, same thing will convert. And the data will send back in same endpoint URL. Endpoint URL అంటే nothing but ఒక HTTP URL లాగా ఉంటుంది. Okay, now what should happen is, whenever you get a request from here, no doubt one endpoint URL will be known to us, right? So service package will check endpoint URL of this one, and maybe this one. So if the input is matching with any of this endpoint URL, that particular service so and its respective options will be applicable. Understood, right? So now service package might be triggered now. So the very first rule to be executed is service package. And then service soap or rest according to that. And then, so maybe kind of parse rule. Avuna kada? Kind of parse rule. And then,
activity,
no, request properties.
proper,
Okay. And then activity. Tarvata,
response properties,
response. And then
streaming,
streaming. That's it. So if data is streamed, the data will be sent back in the endpoint URL format. So this ends our web request or web service request. Okay, fine. So now all these rules are to be created right initially from our providers level. So these rules on what class we will create? So I have to write.
identities,
So earlier I told you when we're talking about like rule sets, rule sets. So the rules which are supposed to be created, and if those are to be integrated with third party, those are to be maintained at INT rule sets, right? Now,
yes,
those are to be maintained at INT classes also. INT classes also. So you'll be having integration class available at implementation level, maybe at framework level, at organization level. Kada, n number of ways INT classes will be there. INT classes will be there. So if we are like a service provider, we generally maintain all the rules at implementation INT. So that is ABC dash, ABC loans dash INT. This is our existing integration class. On top of it, we can maintain like PAN card service. So this is what new class will be maintained on implementation INT level. Implementation INT level. So if you are like in service requester, no doubt similar rules all will be there, and those will be maintained at organization INT. Organization INT. So why are we maintaining this at organization level INT? Maybe this at implementation level INT. Maybe if I'm trying to create something at different INT layers, will I not get output until 100% you will get it. So this is completely for segregation and we are trying to do it. Okay, segregation end. So if I'm like a service provider, okay, so dealing with different applications. So here ABC dash, ABC loans dash, INT dash, access service is what we'll create. Okay, and we'll try to handle it back. And if this is like completely different, so this is to process a PAN card number and send back. This is like sending one page list as the input. Then maybe different service soap or rest. I'll create different class. Everything we generally maintain it implementation INT layer. And if it is like connector level or requesters level, what they will do is maybe if this is their organization and where they'll be having one credit card application, maybe loans application, maybe accounts application. Consider the same. Okay, now if I go for a bank and ask for a credit card, okay, then what they will do? So they will try to search for my PAN card number, right? So from here, it is trying to hit the third party table and getting back the some information here. Okay, so actually I'm like eligible. Based on my CIBIL score, they're considering me as like eligible. Then they wanted to cross check whether I have bank account or. So maybe I'm not having bank account. So they will ask me to go to counter number 3. And here first I have to get one account created. And before account creation, still they wanted to search for my eligibility. Here also they're searching for my PAN card number and again hitting and getting back some information. So if you cross check, So one PAN card is like searched for 2 times in this case, maybe 3 times, maybe 4 times. So here requester has to pay provider based on the number of requests. So for same input, if they are requesting for 2 times or 3 times, and if this is happening with different customers, just imagine there might be like duplicated executions happening, and we are supposed to pay them according to that, right? Instead, whatever the input we are getting, if I can maintain at organization level, I can use it. And maybe the next level also I can simply use it, right? Next level also I can simply use it. So here organization level INTs generally will maintain. So in terms of best practices, if you wanted to maintain somewhere different, if you wanted to achieve the output also, it can be possible. But this is like every projects are following today. And if you are like a provider, and everything we are maintaining at implementation INT layer, that is what the best practice. Okay, fine. So now we should understand how that similar rules will be there at the requester level. So this is at provider level, right? What are all the rules we are creating? And if we are requesters, our manager will simply give us, simply will ask us to design a screen and design something to consume providers information, right? So they need not tell anything more. So if we can just get one visitor, everything can be designed. So you should understand how many input properties you have to maintain. So what will be the output related? So how the streaming and parsing, everything will be available in this Vista. So this I'll explain. Okay, so today we're understanding more of web service. We did not talk anything about PEGA today. Okay, so we're understanding general discussion of like what integrations will be and how the providers has to handle this, maybe how the requesters has to handle this, and maybe at provider level, what are all the rules generally we maintain and what will be the sequence. And from requesters level, what will be the rules, similar rules, and how to absorb this vista and inside what is like endpoint URL and within which how to go with SOAP related or REST related exceptional handlings, everything we have to do. So this I'll explain too. Got it right?
సో ఇప్పుడు
Hmm.
సోప్ అయితే విజిటల్ పంపిస్తున్నాం కదా, విజిటల్ లో
Hmm. Hmm.
ఎండ్ పాయింట్ యూఆర్ఎల్ రిక్వెస్ట్ రెస్పాన్స్
Method name. Hmm.
ఇవన్నీ ఉన్నాయి. మరి
Hmm.
రెస్ట్ అయితే ఓన్లీ
Hmm.
ఎండ్ పాయింట్
Rest
యూఆర్ఎల్
లో
పంపిస్తాం.
only endpoint URL share చేస్తాం. So now requesters, they are supposed to get model request and model response and method name in some different way. Okay, so model request అనేది direct endpoint URL ఐడెంటిఫై అవుతుంది. ఒకవేళ అవ్వకపోయినా they have to test it using something called postman. చెప్తాను మీకు రేపు చెప్తాను.
ఓకే ఓకే
ఓకేనా?
ఓకే.